This series is about my sixth Ford Ranger. I've owned 6 of them over the years, and they were all the same. Long box, V6, fleet. The Fleet Rangers never had all the bells and whistles. It was just a truck. That was all I wanted. My first Ranger was a 1984. Then I got an 87. Then an 89. Then a 93, and finally a 2007. This is an image of my 2007 Ford Ranger one day before it was sold with 194,000 miles. And here it is setting next to the new Ranger, the 2022. It was special ordered as a super cab, 6-foot 1-inch box, vinyl floor, cloth seats, mud flaps, and the rear seat delete. With an XL Ranger, these are the rear seats that you get. Notice those headrests? They're right in the way of looking out the back window. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't want the rear seats. Also, I never carry passengers, so I wanted that storage area. So this is what you end up with if you order the rear seat delete on an XL Ranger. This is a factory image. And here is also the line item that you can select when you are pricing out your Ranger online. Now, the story behind my Ranger, why it took 11 months, I ordered it in first week of October. It showed up middle of March without the rear seats deleted. So that was not my truck. They tried to tell me that I couldn't order it. So I had to show them the line item on their own website to prove that, yes, you can delete those rear seats. So I waited for another few months until last week of August. My truck finally came in after waiting 11 months because the one that came in March was not mine. So this episode is how I configured that rear storage area to suit my needs.
That scissor jack they give you, I'm going to get rid of that and use what I've always carried in the Rangers, which is a 1.5 ton floor jack that I'm figuring it's going to reside right there under that little shelf that I'm going to build. What that thing is. Oh, some kind of a little foam. Okay. So, all of that stuff is going to get out of there. I think I'm going to put my jumper cables in there. And I also have a jump box right there, DB Power. That'll probably go over there. And for right now, until I can get some soundproofing, that's where it's going to stand. Okay, with some twisting, I was able to get that in. Let's hope this locks back in. Not quite. Something isn't just right. I guess it was me not putting it in correctly. I've got to slide it in that way and then get it down, turn the lock, and there it is. So I got that. And like I said, DB Power is going to go over in there along with some other stuff. And then the platform will come over and be flush with this so that it'll be relatively flat. And that's going to be my storage in the back. I've noticed that there's a lot more road noise than a standard Ranger with rear seats. There isn't enough padding. So there is down here, this is all open, and you've got openings here. I'm going to have to fill some of that foam or something, and I'm thinking about getting some soundproofing sheets and put over the plastic, and then set the plastic covers down on. Hopefully they'll still latch. If not, I'll have to cut out around it, and that should cut down on the noise. But that's what I wanted, was a big rear storage area. Actually, I would have rather had just a plain cab and a 7-footer like I've had since '84. However, Ford decided you had to have those worthless little jump seats. Okay, I've got a roll of foam, a little sticky back to it. And what I'm doing is I'm tucking it under the back. Pull the back out. Stick that under. Sticky back gets in the way. And that should cut down on some of the noise. I'm going to have to do it off camera because I can't do it with one hand. Well, as it turns out, there's certain areas where there's a hollow. So I'm going to have to put a second layer of this stuff in along there and down at the far end and down here. Hopefully that's going to take care of some of the noise. Then, as an afterthought, I thought I'd take the thin strips of that sticky foam and cover every single spot that was open. Now, as to what that foam is, it's the foam that comes with a vinyl replacement window that I generally rip it off and put the window in, and then I spray foam it, so I don't use the stick-on foam, but I hang on to it just in case I might need it. So I think this is the way it's going to stay. I'm going to have to do a road test, see if it's any better. Probably won't be, but makes me feel better. So the next thing will be to order up a sheet of sound deadening and run it all across the plastic and up the wall a little bit. And that'll be about the best I can do. I am not going to cover the whole thing with a sheet of plywood like I've seen some other people do. Then you have to put hinges in and flip the hinges up so that you can get at the storage boxes. I'm just going to have right here over to here, that area right there, and on each side. And then anything that's in the back, it can be slid over to the side and I can pop up a cover if I need it, as opposed to removing everything and lifting up the whole sheet. That's the way I want to do it. Right or wrong, that's what I've decided.
Now at this point in the build, I had run out of that window foam that I was putting in the slots, as you saw. So I decided to put my sound deadening mat on the plastic. So using my work surface on the tailgate, I started cutting out the mats and then fitting them to the plastic base and covers.
First step in putting the sound deadening on is to clean the area. And with the surface cleaned, I had the piece cut, and I'm kind of test fitting it before I pull the backing off, and also make sure that the cover right there will close down. So in fitting it and putting the top down, you can see the outline of the top. So that's going to be my cut line. So there it is down before I roll it. According to the instructions, I got to get all those little bubbles out. And there it is rolled out with my laminate roller, my J roller, which is what I had instead of buying theirs. So anyway, that's in. Now I've got to cut a piece for the top and along the side here and along the front, and it will be soundproofed to a certain extent. So I got a new piece of the insulation and set the cover down, and I'm just going to draw around it, cut it, and then clean the top and stick it down. And it's now ready to be attached. I did a little trimming around the cap or the lock mechanism, whatever. If it isn't just right, I can always trim it after it's put down. So there's the top installed. So the little piece that I cut off to do that edge, I should be able to take and drop right in there, and it should fit. Should. We'll see. Well, that section worked out pretty well. It dropped right in. It doesn't look bad. Of course, it's all going to be covered up by a indoor-outdoor rug anyway. But I can lift that up, put it back, just like factory. And hopefully, for what I paid for that stuff, it will deaden some of the sound. And I've got half more to go.
So with all the sound deadening mat down in place and still waiting for more foam for the other slots in the back wall, I started on the cargo table. As you can see, I've got it cut, and I've got every 6 inches I've got pocket screws, because I want to pocket screw the cargo table to the plastic floor mat. And I found that 1-inch coarse pocket hole screws would be just enough to go into the plastic, but not go into the metal of the truck body. So that cargo table is going to need legs, so I chose some 1-inch dowel and cut 2 pieces, one for each side. And then to prevent splitting, I drilled a pilot hole in the center of each dowel leg. And then using a drywall screw, I attached the dowel to the 3/4 plywood shelf. And there's what the assembly looks like at this point, upside down, sitting on my front steps. And here is the slot that it's going to go in. What I indexed off of was the center console. I measured that distance, and that was the depth that I was going to have the cargo shelf. And then I simply slid the cargo shelf into position. Because of the length of the legs, it aligned perfectly with the height of the plastic storage bins. And there's a shot looking from the other side of the truck. And there you can see how the dowel legs are positioned. They're not attached to the floor. They're just held in place by gravity. And in the center, to hold that up, I had to make a very short little dowel, and then using the same technique that I used for the longer ones, I just screwed that in place to support the center over the hump. Then I gave the cargo shelf a coat of white primer. And that was so I could use the double stick Sure-Tape carpet tape to go down on the primer and have it bond better than just bare wood. And then I laid down 4 strips of the tape along with tape on the ends of the cargo shelf. Then using my J-roller, I rolled the tape down to make sure that I had a good solid bond. Then at Lowe's, I bought some gray carpet runner, and you can see that I have got it cut to size, and I have stuck it down on the cargo shelf after peeling the backing off the carpet tape. And with it stuck down on the cargo shelf, I'm just laying the runner over the boxes. And then what I did to make it easier to get into those storage boxes is I cut a slit that you can see in the middle of the carpet. And there's a close-up of it that I went from the back wall to the edge of the wooden cargo shelf where the tape is. So with that slit, I can then fold the carpet back to access either the left or the right side of the storage boxes. This allows me to not have to take everything out of both sides just to get at one of the storage boxes. So now finally the sound deadening foam has arrived, and just above those rings there is a slot all the way across the back that needs to be plugged. So there's my foam tape as it arrived, and there's the label of what it is. I bought it on Amazon.
So the idea is going to be to take one of these rolls and stuff it up in here, because I had to buy this roll because I ran out of this gray stuff from the windows. So this is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm just peeling the backing tape off. And after a little bit of work, I've got all the slots plugged with that acoustic foam. And then to finish off the installation, I used a strip of the acoustic mat, and I've got it on the driver's side. I've got to now put it on the passenger side, and there's my piece right there that I will stick in. There's the other side of the acoustic mat. It doesn't stick as well to that fuzz as it does to the plastic, but I think it needs it. So I'm just going to have to, if it comes off, I'll have to use some kind of glue to stick it on. But that pretty much finishes the sound deadening installation.
So with the sound deadening complete, now I can install my storage bags. I wanted something to put little items in so they wouldn't be rattling around the back of the cargo area. And I found these things on Amazon. They're supposed to hook behind the seat, as you can see, but because they've got Velcro, you can mount them to the fuzzy back of the truck. And there's the label on the box. And there's what they look like when you pull them out of the box. The nice feature of these 3 bags is they're fully configurable because they zip together. So you can put up 1 or 2 or 3, any combination you want, and you can zip them together and they become all one piece. That's the way I'm putting mine up.
I'm going to be using the Velcro to put the bags up. And the trick is to make sure that the bottoms of them rest on those to support it. Like that. And like that. And there's the bags. And when you pull back, there's my 3 bags. If they ever fail to stay up, so far they have, I can always use a screw on these straps. But so far they've stayed up even though they're loaded.
And that completes my Ford Ranger XL rear seat delete cargo storage area.